The harsh, cold blue glare of a smartphone screen cuts through the warm yellow light of the kitchen. It vibrates violently, sliding a fraction of an inch across the woven bamboo table. The caller ID flashes just one blunt word: Tho-a. Mid-air, Alex's hand freezes. The wooden chopsticks he's holding stop inches from his bowl. Beside him, Tuna pauses, her ladle still dipping into the steaming clay pot of sour soup. The fragile, hard-won piece of their evening is instantly shattered. Welcome back to our home. If you've been with Alex, Tuna, and little Henry for a while, you know that our evenings are usually our safe harbor. After a long day on the farm, this wooden kitchen is where the noise of the world stops. But tonight, that noise didn't just knock on the door, it broke right through. Why does a single ringing phone make a capable man look like the sky is falling on him? Just 3 minutes earlier, the house had been filled with the ordinary, beautiful rhythm of dusk. Outside, the crickets were just beginning their evening chorus near the bamboo gate. Inside, the kitchen smelled of roasted garlic, tamarind, and the rich, savory aroma of minced pork porridge. Tuna had spent the last hour meticulously preparing the meal. She had wiped the table clean, set out the ceramic bowls, and gently placed a pair of chopsticks at Alex's usual spot. At the corner of the table, little Henry was in his own world, swinging his tiny legs in his sandals, happily playing airplane with his spoon. His bright giggles bounced off the rustic wooden walls. It was a perfect, ordinary moment, the kind of moment you work all day in the sun for. Then came the vibration, a harsh, mechanical buzzing that felt entirely alien against the quiet hum of the countryside. Alex doesn't reach for the phone, he just stares at it. The blue light casts long, sharp shadows across his face, highlighting a sudden, stark, pale tone in his cheeks. The soup in Tuna's bowl is still steaming, but the air in the room has gone freezing cold. Building family happiness requires constant vigilance. The peace we build in our homes is beautiful, but sometimes we forget just how incredibly fragile it really is. The phone screen finally goes black. The missed call notification sits there like an uninvited guest. Alex forces his shoulders to drop, attempting a stiff, unnatural posture of relaxation. "Eat," he murmurs, his voice a little too quiet, a little too strained. He picks up his chopsticks again and reaches for the sour soup, but Tuna notices the slight tremor in his wrist. He brings the food to his mouth, but his swallowing is heavy, labored, as if the soft porridge has turned to ash in his throat. Then the phone lights up again. A second call, then a third. The suffocating weight of an unspoken secret presses down on the dinner table. Henry, sensing the sudden shift in gravity, stops giggling. He looks from his father to his mother, his spoon lowering slowly. The innocence in his wide eyes only makes the heavy silence more painful. Tuna doesn't ask. She doesn't demand to know who Thoa is right in front of their child. Instead, she relies on the silent language of their marriage. With steady, practiced hands, she picks up her chopsticks, selects the tenderest piece of braised meat from the center plate, and gently places it directly into Alex's bowl. It's a simple, nurturing gesture, but her eyes never leave him. They lock onto his tightened jaw, reading the subtle, defensive shifts in his body language. She sees the stark contrast between the vibrant, nourishing food she has poured her love into and the exhausted, pale man sitting beside it. Alex tries to offer her a reassuring smile, but it doesn't reach his eyes. The mechanical buzzing against the bamboo table is deafening. In the quiet rhythm of our farm life, we learn that true care in a marriage isn't just about cooking a warm meal. It's about paying acute, sometimes painful attention to the silent shifts in your partner's emotional state. Tuna knows her husband. She knows the steady, protective man who carries the weight of the farm without complaint. Whatever is on the other end of that phone line, it's not just a nuisance, it's a threat. And as the screen flashes for the fourth time, the pressure in the small wooden kitchen builds to a point where the air itself feels too thick to breathe. The fifth vibration is the breaking point. The quiet kitchen can no longer absorb the tension. Alex abruptly pushes his stool back, the wooden legs scraping harshly against the floorboards. The sudden sound makes little Henry flinch, his spoon pausing mid-air. It's just the secretary from the supplier," Alex mumbles, intentionally avoiding Tuna's gaze. He grabs the phone from the table as if the metal is burning his skin, turns his back, and rushes out toward the dark front porch. The heavy wooden door clicks shut behind him, but in his haste, it doesn't close all the way. Tuna stays seated at the dinner table for a long, agonizing moment. She gently wipes a stray grain of rice from Henry's cheek, gives his small shoulder a soft, reassuring squeeze, and then rises from her chair. She doesn't call out to her husband. Instead, she wipes her damp hands on her cotton apron and walks silently down the narrow hallway. The transition from the warm, brightly lit kitchen to the shadowy corridor feels like stepping into a different world. She stops just behind the cracked door. The night air slipping through the narrow gap is cool, but her palms are sweating. Through the small opening, the dim yellow porch bulb illuminates Alex. He is pacing frantically across the wooden boards. He looks nothing like the steady, confident man who built this house. His free hand is gripping the back of his neck, his shoulders hunched deeply, as if he is trying to shield himself from an invisible blow. The sweat is glistening on his pale forehead. Then she hears his voice. It isn't the firm, authoritative tone he uses for farm business, nor the gentle, rumbling voice he uses to read Henry to sleep. It is a hushed, ragged whisper of pure desperation. "I told you," Alex gasps into the receiver, his voice trembling in the dark. "I promised I would bring it. I will hand over the red book to you tomorrow morning. Just please, stop calling me at home. My wife is right inside. The red book, the land deed, the legal soul of their farm, the very ground they are standing on, the soil they have bled into, the inheritance they are carefully building for their son." In a single, overheard sentence, the foundation of their entire physical security is suddenly dangling over a cliff. Tuna's entire body goes completely rigid. The shock hits her chest so hard she forgets how to breathe. The rough grain of the wooden door frame bites into her fingertips as she grips it to keep her balance. Every instinct in her body screams at her to push that door wide open, to step out into the cold night air, snatch the phone from his trembling hand, and demand the truth right there. Why are you giving away our land? Who is Thoa? What have you done? It would be so easy to let the panic and betrayal take over, to shatter his crumbling facade and force a confession. Her hand hovers over the brass doorknob. She can feel the cold metal against her skin, practically humming with the urge to turn it. But this is where the reality of a long-term marriage differs from a dramatic movie. In a moment of sheer crisis, when a partner is trapped in a corner of their own making, exposing their lie while they are actively panicking rarely leads to clarity. It usually leads to a complete collapse of their psychological defenses. It brings instant denial, deeper lies, or a shameful, impenetrable wall of silence. Tuna realizes, with a painful, suffocating clarity, that Alex is terrified. He is trying to fix a catastrophic mistake entirely on his own because he thinks he has to protect her from it. If she attacks his pride right now, while he is already drowning, she might lose his trust completely. Sometimes, the smartest, most excruciatingly difficult thing a partner can do is to step back, to quietly gather the missing puzzle pieces in the dark before aggressively turning on all the lights. Slowly, agonizingly, Tuna lowers her hand from the doorknob. She closes her eyes, takes one deep, silent breath of the cool night air, and turns her back on the shadowy porch. She walks away from the secret and back into the golden warmth of the kitchen. Little Henry is still sitting there, playing with his food, entirely oblivious to the fact that the roof over his head is in jeopardy. Tuna walks straight to him. She wraps her arms around his small, solid body, burying her face in his warm shoulder. She holds him tight, grounding herself in the reality of what she needs to save. She won't break her husband's fragile peace tonight, but she knows the silent work of saving their family begins the moment he falls asleep. The heavy front door groans as it opens. Instantly, Alex forces a wide, artificial smile onto his face, erasing the terrified, sweating man who was just pacing in the shadows. He steps back into the golden light of the kitchen, bringing a faint chill of the night air with him, and immediately reaches for his son. With a sudden burst of exaggerated energy, he scoops the little boy up from his chair, lifting him high over his head. Whoosh! The airplane is flying high tonight. Alex cheers. His voice is painfully tight, stretched thin by panic, yet loud enough to fill the quiet room. Henry's bright, innocent laughter bounces off the bamboo walls, completely unaware of the terrifying reality hovering just outside their front gate. Tuna turns her back to the table and steps toward the sink to wash the dinner bowls. As she submerges her trembling hands into the warm, soapy water, her tears finally spill over. They fall silently, vanishing into the basin. Through the reflection of the dark window pane, she watches her husband's weary silhouette. She sees the heavy, slumped line of his exhausted shoulders beneath his cheerful act. She isn't angry at him for the lie, she is profoundly heartbroken. She realizes with agonizing clarity that his deception is born out of love, a desperate, isolating attempt to protect their family. He is trying to hold up a collapsing sky all by himself, just so she and Henry can finish their warm meal in peace. The hidden cost of their beautiful evening is her husband's silent, suffocating pain. Sometimes the deepest sacrifices in a marriage are entirely invisible. Hours later, the rustic house is completely still. The red taillights of Alex's truck have long faded into the heavy rural darkness as he drives off into the city, carrying the weight of their future alone. But Tuna does not go to sleep. She walks quietly into their bedroom, kneels on the cool wooden floorboards, and reaches deep under their heavy bed. Her fingers brush against the familiar dust until they find the cold steel of a battered metal box. She drags it out into the quiet room. Inside rests the farm's old handwritten ledger, the intricate numeric heartbeat of the life they have built with their bare hands. She clicks on a single desk lamp. The warm bulb casts a tight circle of light against the encroaching shadows. With steady, determined hands, Tuna opens the worn pages and begins to trace the columns of ink, searching for the hidden truth behind the name, Thoa. She is no longer a silent observer. She is choosing to step out of the safety of the kitchen and into the very center of her husband's crisis. The true foundation of family happiness is never just about enjoying the sunny, abundant harvests together. It is about how you stand when the bitter storms hit. Building a real life together requires a fierce, unspoken promise. When the person you love falls into a deep, dark hole, you do not stand at the edge and simply watch them struggle. You grab a shovel, you climb down into the dirt, and you dig them out together. Have you ever had to carry a heavy burden alone to protect your family, or quietly stepped in to share your partner's hidden struggle? Tell us your story in the comments below. If you found a piece of your own family in our story tonight, please share this video with someone you love.